What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing part 2 of the end of season recap, this time featuring viewer submitted battles, and this one is an absolute banger. Now at the time of recording this, it doesn't look like you guys will be hitting the like goal that I set in yesterday's video, but realistically it makes no sense for me to hold off from uploading this. There will be a massive oversaturation of content when the new season drops, and nobody will care about battles from the previous season, so you guys got lucky this time, but don't let it happen again. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What is your favorite video featuring viewer submitted battles that I uploaded this season? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead with a shiny Phantom into Shadow Meganium, get a save swap into our Great League Rayquaza, yes that's right, a Great League Rayquaza, and the opponent responds with a Mantine. We go for the Breaking Swipe, unfortunately no attack debuff on the first time, that we do use this move, but now we're going to shield this up, they go for an Aerial Ace bait, and we do make it to Breaking Swipe number 2. We could really do with an attack drop at this point in time, and we do get the attack drop, although Rayquaza is very glassy, so we're actually going to double shield anyways. We shield up the Aerial Ace, we can now go for the Dragon Tail Farm Down, and let's see, the opponent comes back in with their Shadow Meganium, and we make it to yet another Breaking Swipe in time. Breaking Swipe, grabs a shield, it gets another attack drop before the opponent can finally fire off a charge move. Frenzy Plant, even double resisted with an attack drop, does actually take out the Rayquaza, but the opponent's got a Digger's Beat in the back, so this is actually pretty good for us here. We can go for a Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse, really not going to do much damage there. This is a level 50 Noibat, by the way, and it doesn't even reach 750 CP. We're now going to swap into our Phantom, catch the resisted Scorching Sands. We should resist everything here as long as they're not running Fire Punch, and it looks like the opponent's probably running Scorching Sands and Hyper Beam, and Hyper Beam would be double resisted, so that's why they're not throwing it. We go for a Seed Bomb, dealing huge damage there. The opponent is going to overfarm too much, allowing us to make it to another Seed Bomb in time. Seed Bomb takes out the Diggersby. The opponent comes back in with their Meganium, but we can make it to an Air Cutter. Actually, no, the opponent does actually fire off a Charge Move here, but it's just a Frenzy Plant double resisted by the Noibat. We make it to Air Cutter, one of the worst charge moves in the game, but we still take out the Shadow Meganium, and we're able to take that game. So going into the first bonus battle, we've got a triple Shadow normal team, keeping the Snorlax in the lead, but we've also got Ursaluna and Shadow Star Raptor. And I believe the Star Raptor is also a Hondo Shadow Pokemon, which is pretty crazy to see. We are going to let the move go through. Sacred Fire does huge damage there. We're now going to swap into our Ursaluna, and the opponent's going to stay in with the Ho-Oh. I don't believe Ice Punch would have KO'd from that range, so it does make sense to actually just shield that up, go for an extra farm, and unfortunately they do get the attack drop, but it shouldn't be too bad. Ice Punch should still KO from this range, and we do make it to another Ice Punch. The opponent, do they want to double shield the Ho-Oh? No, they don't, as they're going to come in with Dialga. We're not going to make it to a high horsepower, unfortunately, but hopefully the opponent has lost track of the energy as we go for an Ice Punch. And Ice Punch does grab the final shield, which is huge for us because Staraptor absolutely needs a shield here. Staraptor already glassy in the Open Great or Ultra League, but in the Master League, it is absolute paper. We're going to shield this up. Hopefully close combat is still enough damage to KO. We're going to throw it straight away here, and the great thing is we can just clear that debuff instantly, swapping into Snorlax, and the opponent's got a Giratina in the back, so this is going to be close. It basically just depends if a Brave Bird does KO the Giratina from pretty much full health here. We are going to resist everything they throw, so Shadow Ball shouldn't be taking us out. Shadow Ball does come through, it gets us fairly low, but we do live it, and we make it to the Brave Bird. Now it's do or die. Does Brave Bird KO? Yes, it does, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so going into the next battle, we got Shadow Watchog here into a Gligar. So Watchog, not a very good Pokemon whatsoever. I don't even have this as a Shadow Pokemon at all, like in my storage. Not like built, but just not even to build, potentially, because it's just so bad that I didn't keep one when it was available. But here we're going to swap, catch the next move onto our Oinkologne, and it is a dig. We can overfarm just a little bit, go for a Body Slam. Body Slam should be enough damage to take them out from this range, so the opponent does use their shield. They're going to fire off another Charge Move here as they go for the Aerial Ace number 2. We should still make it to a Body Slam here, but unfortunately it looks like either we were one turn behind or we lost the CMP tie. But either way, happy to let the Oinkologne go down. We're probably going to come in with the Watchog again, okay. And the opponent comes in with a Quagsire. Do they know about the Grass Knot coverage? Unfortunately they do. We come in with Litleo. We do at least have a 2 shield advantage though. So the opponent running a nice shiny hat hipster Quagsire here, but we're going to go for the Crunch. Crunch is going to do some decent damage there. A second Crunch should be enough after the Incinerate damage to KO. So let's see, does the opponent want to swap out? No, they're going to stay in. We go for the Crunch number 2. This should hopefully KO. It does take out the Quagsire, and they've got a Steelix in the back, so we're going for the Flame Charge immediately. This will be boosting up our attack. Can we potentially make a catch here? No, it doesn't look like it. Hopefully we can still get the Incinerate farm down. They go for Psycho Fangs. They drop our defense. We swap into Watchog, and we're able to simultaneously KO there, but we did still have the Litleo in the back, so we're able to take that game. Alright, so going into the first battle, we see Azumarill in the lead, so very good lead matchup for us. The opponent going to safe swap into Turtonator, and when I saw this team immediately, I was thinking, it doesn't look too good up against a Turtonator. All 3 Pokemon have resisted fast moves up against the Fire and Dragon typing, so not ideal for us. We are going to see the opponent goes for a Flash Cannon, huge damage, and if they want to, they can just safely shield up the Aerial Ace and flip Switch advantage, which isn't ideal, but Shadow Scissor still does decently up against the Azumarill with that Trailblaze damage, so it's not the end of the world here. We can come in with our Dedenne, of course. We do not want to come in with our Shadow Scissor. Going to shield up the Flash Cannon, hopefully go for a full Thundershock farm down, and we do get that farm down. The opponent's got Flygon in the back, so not ideal since obviously Togetic is our super hard counter to a Flygon, but we do go for the Play Rough. The opponent swaps back into Azumarill, which is an interesting play there since we weren't quite at the second Play Rough, but I guess the opponent lost track of our energy. Either way, we can shield up the Ice Beam. Ice Beam, of course, resisted, but honestly, these bubbles are already chunking the Scissor. We go for a Trailblaze, hitting for huge damage, boosting our attack, and we make it to a Night Slash on the CMP tie, but we're going to fully undercharge this, and this is a crazy play here. We are going to let the charge move go through. The opponent goes for an Ice Beam. We're still going to stop attacking, and that will allow us to make it to a Play Rough. The opponent tries to snipe there, but we're able to react quickly enough to go for the Play Rough, one-shotting the Flygon, Thundershocking, farming down the Azumarill, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so going into the first battle, we see a shiny Aron into a Wigglytuff, so a great lead. The opponent's going to swap into Clodsire, and we instantly respond with our War Turtle, and the opponent's going to fire off a charge move. Now, War Turtle has some decent bulk, so we're going to let the first move go through. They go for an Earthquake. That does about 50% of our health, maybe just slightly more than that. We're now actually not going to go straight for the Hydro Pump. We go for an Ice Beam that goes unshielded, and the opponent can live that, make it to another charge move, so we will shield up the Stone Edge, but we can go for a Water Gun farm down. Now we are going to see the Wigglytuff coming back in, and we will be able to make it to a Hydro Pump before they Charm farm us down. Hydro Pump coming through, does huge damage to the Wigglytuff, and we can just tackle farm them down with our Aron, and the opponent's got a Gligar in the back now. Of course, we are going to be double resisting the Wing Attack damage and the Aerial Ace, but Dig would hit for double super effective, so we're going to swap into our Tackle Squirtle here. Gonna let the first move go through as the opponent goes for an Aerial Ace. We do actually tank that reasonably well. Gonna let the next one go through as well as they go for a second Aerial Ace, and we will just barely make it to an Aqua Tail. Now this, I do expect to grab a shield from the opponent, and it does grab the shield there, but they can Wing Attack farm us down. Now this is really scary. Obviously Dig is gonna hit for double super effective damage, but we're gonna call it bait, and it's just an Aerial Ace, and the opponent realizes they made a huge mistake, and they just concede the match there. Alright, so going into the first battle, we see Meganium into Medicham. So this is a fairly neutral matchup. I would say Medicham probably just slightly edges it just because it does have that super effective Ice Punch, although Frenzy Plant also going to do huge damage in this matchup. We're going to build two nearly the back-to-back Frenzy Plants. Meganium should be winning CMP up against the Medicham, and we throw straight away, winning the CMP tie. We can take this in the Zero Shield scenario. The opponent uses their shield, and at this point, I think we will just let Meganium go down. Yeah, exactly that. Ice Punch will be taking us out, but we put them into perfect farm down range for the Shadow Aerodactyl. Now the opponent comes in with a Carbink. They're hitting for huge damage, but we're hitting for double super effective damage with the Steel Wings, and the opponent no-shields the Earth Power, which is absolutely vital because we've got Tyrantrum in the bag, a Pokemon that really doesn't want to see Carbink. We're going to use our first shield, shielding up the Rock Side, and the opponent comes in with a Venusaur. Now, we are not going to throw straight away, and as a result, the opponent throws on alignment, giving us a full Dragon Tail in for free, and you're going to see that is absolutely vital for us. As we go for a Crunch, we get the defense drop, and we make it to a second Crunch on the CMP tie, and Crunch will be enough damage to take out the Venusaur, and now we can just Dragon Tail, farm down the Carbink, and take them out with a Tyrantrum. That has probably never happened in the Go Battle League before, probably won't ever happen again, and it was incredibly satisfying to see. Alright, so going into the first battle, we're going to see Frostsass into Greedent. So a bit of an awkward matchup just because they can run Crunch. We're going to swap and potentially catch the Crunch onto our Glalie, and it is a Crunch, so that's a nice play there. The opponent does get the debuff with our defense, but Glalie has some decent bulk to it, so we're going to let the next move go through as well. Body Slam comes through, we're going to overfarm, and the opponent makes it to another charge move, so unfortunately already another Body Slam. Bit of a miscalculation there in their energy, but it doesn't matter. We farm to the back-to-back Avalanches, and Avalanche will be taking out the Greedent, and they come in with a Lantern. We barely make it to the Shadow Ball in time, but this is going to do some nice damage. It's not going to do loads, it's non-stab, and like I said, Glalie is fairly bulky, but we're going to come in with the Frostsass, go for an Avalanche bait here. Quite likely that they do shield, and they do end up shielding. But we make it to another charge move here, this time full sending a Shadow Ball, grabbing a shield from the opponent, and at this point we're going to let the move go through here as the opponent's going to go for a Surf. That's not enough to take us out, and we force the opponent to throw their energy straight away here to get rid of the Frostsass. And the fact that they are trying to get rid of the Frostsass so much means that maybe they've got something weak to Ice in the back, so we come in with the Snow Run. We're going to shield the Surf here, going to overfarm. The opponent tries to catch the Shadow Ball there, but we hold onto the energy. We can now go for an Avalanche. This is double super effective. It easily one-shots the Altaria, and we have a Shadow Ball loaded to throw into Lantern. Shadow Ball takes out the Lantern, and we just swept with a Snow Run in the Go Battle League. So that is pretty crazy to say. Into next game, we've got Attack from Deoxys into Giratina, an awful lead matchup, so we're going to say swap into our Shadow Sand Slash. The opponent not swapping out straight away. We can go for a Night Slash, and Night Slash is going to deal super effective damage, doesn't deal too much there, and now the opponent swaps into their Swampert, so we're going to go for a Scorching Sands. Scorching Sands, if they no shield, is going to do some decent damage there. Unfortunately, the opponent does use their shield. Honestly, I don't see a lot of play for our team here. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We're actually going to go for a Night Slash here, and if the opponent hasn't been counting, they might double shield the Swampert, and they do double shield, and we get the attack boost with our Night Slash as well, which is absolutely huge because before Scorching Sands certainly wouldn't KO, but now with the boost to our attack, this might just take out the Swampert, and it does take them out there. They come back in with the Giratina. Honestly, we might even live a charge move here as the opponent's going to go for the Dragon Claw. We do live that. We make it to the Night Slash, throwing on the CMP Tide as well. Everything's going perfectly. Night Slash does huge damage to the Giratina. We can now let the Dragon Claw go through. Gonna come in with our Shadow Nidoking, get the full Poison Jab farm down, and the opponent's got Electros in the back, so Nidoking could have easily handled that, but we've got Attack from Deoxys. Might as well go for a Psycho Boost, taking out the Electros with the one shot, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so go into the first battle. We need XL Smoochum into a double. This is a fairly neutral matchup, I would assume. Of course, Payback probably would one-shot us, but the opponent only farms to a Body Slam, which is fine with us. We're going to go for an Ice Punch here. We didn't actually throw on good timing. We let a full double kick in for free. We're now going to swap into Phantom, and the opponent is going to throw either a Body Slam or a Wild Charge here. We can very easily let that go through. It is just a Body Slam, double resisted, doesn't do much damage whatsoever. We can now go for a Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb will grab a shield from the opponent. At this point, they do have enough energy for potential payback. We do shield. It is the payback. That would have easily one-shot us. And the opponent tries to catch a Seed Bomb, I believe, swapping into their Drifblim here. But we're going to full send a Shadow Ball, one-shotting the Drifblim. And the opponent's got a Quagsire in the back. And this is just 4 Mud Shots, I believe. It will just be an Aqua Tail, which we end up living. And we can fire off a Seed Bomb before they make it to the next charge move, or Mud Shot farm us down. We've got the final shield, and the opponent throws straight away. So at this point, we can just let this move go through. Aqua Tail does take us out. We come in with our XL Hisuian Voltorb. The opponent makes it to another charge move. We're going to shield this time around here. They go for the Aqua Tail. They swap back into double, and we're able to make a very nice catch onto our Smoochum. Body Slam takes out the Smoochum. We're now going to go for the Energy Ball straight away. Energy Ball will be enough damage to take out the double, and can we make it to a second Energy Ball up against this Quagsire? They are going to throw the charge move. It's a Mud Bomb, but it doesn't KO. We make it to the Energy Ball, and this is double super effective. It doesn't matter that we're only 1100 CP. We take out the Quagsire, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, Altaria in the lead once again. So just going to stay in this matchup. This is our best matchup up against Altaria. And the opponent, I think, once again, not farming to the Moonblast. So we're going to let it go through. It is just a Sky Attack. We are once again going to full send the Hyper Beam. Can we connect this time around? Yes, we can. It actually still doesn't quite take them out there. Altaria, incredibly bulky, but we do get the Quick Attack farm down, and the opponent comes in with a Talonflame. This is certainly not ideal, but I really like that play there. Swapping out, banking some of the energy, because obviously an Incinerate would have taken us out there, but we go for 4 Quick Attacks, swap and transfer the Incinerate damage onto our Golurk. So if we come back in with the Raticate at a later date, we only need one more fast move to make it to the Crunch. So that is actually quite a smart play there. We also make it to the Shadow Punch up against the Talonflame here. Shadow Punch grabs the shield from the opponent. They will be able to farm us down, but if they don't throw straight away, we're going to make it to the Crunch with our Raticate. And now I think we're just going to depend on there being a Lantern in the back, and there it is. It's always Lantern in the back, and we are looking absolutely golden right now. We can go straight for the Grass Knot, and Grass Knot from nearly full health doesn't quite take them out there, but it doesn't matter. We can tank anything they throw. We can tank a second charge move as well, no problem at all. Get the Astonish farm down, and we're able to take that game. Takes them out. I think they were at the charge move there, but we're able to fast move, farm them down, and take that game. But into the next game, awful lead, and oh my gosh, the opponent running a Charm Gardevoir into our Hydreigon. That is really unfortunate now. We are going to see the charge move get shielded. They can fully farm us down. And we're going to wait out the switch clock, of course, come in with our Aggron, and unfortunately we are running Dragon Tail as the fast move as well, so no fast move pressure whatsoever. We're just going to have to let this move go through. Aggron pretty useless up against the Kyogre, so we're going to go for the Heavy Slam here. Heavy Slam is going to grab a shield from the opponent, and the opponent's going to swap back into their Kyogre, so we come in with our Jolteon, and what can Jolteon do? In the open Master League, we're going to go for the Discharge straight away. Discharge gets them low, and the opponent looks like they were farming to an Origin Pulse. They don't actually make it there at all, which is huge for us. We can go for a second Discharge, and Discharge is going to take out the Gardevoir from that range, and we are resisting the Bullet Punches here because of the electric typing, and the opponent throws their energy. This should allow us to make it to a Zap Cannon in time, and how much damage does this do to the Metagross? It one-shots them, and we're able to take out the Metagross and take that game. Into the next game, we've got a triple level 50 team with Spinder in the lead, leading into a Venusaur. We're going to go straight for the Icy Wind here. This will hit for super effective damage. Unfortunately, not going to do too much up against the Venusaur, but we do grab a shield. As well, we do debuff their attack. The opponent's going to throw on the CMP type with our next charge move. Frenzy Plant would probably barely just not take us out from that range with a debuff, but we can go for a second Icy Wind, and now this next Frenzy Plant probably won't KO, so we could let it go through, but we are going to double shield our Spinder. The opponent swaps into a Medicham, so we're going to come in with our Fury Cutter Farfetch, go straight for the Aerial Ace. Aerial Ace is going to do some decent damage to the Medicham. We can tank the charge move coming through. They're actually going to go for a Psychic though. That gets us very low, but we do just barely make it to a Leaf Blade in time, and Leaf Blade should be enough damage to take out the Medicham. They come back in with their Venusaur. We can now come in with our Delibird. We are going to resist the Frenzy Plant coming through if they throw Frenzy Plant, which they do for some reason. And now we're going to go straight for the Fly. Of course, Icy Wind does debuff their attack, but Fly going to hit for more damage. We take out the Venusaur, and the opponent's got Bastiodon in the back. And oh my gosh, Spinder has great coverage here, so we go for a dig, dealing double super effective damage. And a second dig should barely be enough to take out the Bastiodon here. And it comes through, dig does take out the Bastiodon, and we're able to take that game. So going into next battle, we see a Lantern in the lead. So we are typically just going to play out these lead matchups here. Of course, we've got 3 Pokemon that do basically the same thing. So there's not really any reason to swap out of bad matchups or good matchups or neutral matchups here, unless you just want to preserve some health, maybe catch a charge move here. We're going to let the Surf go through. That does quite a lot of damage. As I said, Porygon Z, bit of a glass cannon. The other 2 Porygons do have slightly more bulk to them, but we're able to take out the Lantern in the zero shield scenario. And then we swap out there, once again, probably just saving that Porygon Z for a potential sack swap, since we were very successful in that first game with that sack swap. But here we're going to go for a Discharge. Discharge does connect, and can we get a full tackle farm down? No, unfortunately not. They're going to make it to another charge move, and I think I agree with this play as well. Come in with our Porygon 2, go for the lock-on farm down, and the opponent's barely able to make it to another charge move. This is unfortunate, but because we get the lock-on farm down instead, we're going to come out with a ton of energy, and now the opponent's got 2 shields and a Galarian Stunfisk, a Pokemon Pokemon that's going to resist everything we can possibly throw, but this is their final Pokemon, so if we keep on firing off these tri-attacks and we keep on getting debuffs to their attack and defense, and if we keep on making catches like this, then we might actually be able to flip this matchup here. Unfortunately, the opponent does bait there with the Rock Slide, but still, that is 5 mud shots worth of energy wasted with that catch, and now we get another attack and defense drop. We're going to shield here, the opponent's going to go and bait again with a Rock Slide, but it doesn't matter, we should be able to very comfortably live an Earthquake from this range now with the triple debuff to their attack and defense. Unfortunately, not getting the debuff this time around, but the opponent finally going to go for the Earthquake there. We still live it, and we're actually going to fire off the double resisted Zap Cannon, but they are triple debuffed, so it takes out the Galarian Stunfisk. What a BM that was insane, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so going into the first battle, the Shadow Promo Pass into Jellicent, so this is not ideal. We are running Rock Throw and not Spark, by the way, so slower to generate energy, also not hitting for super effective damage in this matchup, but the opponent goes for a Surf. We do take that fairly well considering we are a Shadow Pokemon, but we're going to go for a Rock Slide here, and Rock Slide is going to grab a shield from the opponent. Now we swap into Venusaur, catching the next charge move, as the opponent is going to full send the Shadow Ball, dealing big damage, and now they swap into a Excel Rapidash. That is crazy to see in the Ultra League, but you love to see it. We go for the Frenzy Plant there as we weren't making it to the Sludge Bomb. That does quite a lot of damage, and we now can come in with the Promo Pass. We might just let this go through here. Obviously, Drill Run would easily one-shot us, and it does take us out, but we can come in with the Shadow Banette, get a very nice Shadow Claw farm down, and we've still got 2 shields, and 2 shield Shadow Banette is very powerful, even in the Open Ultra League where Pokemon are a lot bulkier. We're going to go for the Shadow Ball, taking out the Jellicent, and the opponent has a Tentacruel in the back, so this is going to be a close. It just depends, does a Shadow Ball take out the Tentacruel? We go for the first one, grabbing the shield from the opponent. They're going to fire off a charge move here, as they go for a Scald, and Scald doesn't get the attack debuff. We farm up as much as possible, throwing as late as possible, and Shadow Ball from this range does take out the Tentacruel, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we see Steelix into another Turtonator. So we've seen this a couple times already now. Just going to go for that Breaking Swipe straight away, thrown just before they make it to the first charge move. And Breaking Swipe here is going to be shielded by the opponent. No debuff this time around, but that's fine. The opponent going to farm to 100 energy. But we're going to shield this up. We want to get off another Breaking Swipe here, and we are going to go for the Breaking Swipe there. The opponent actually did go for the Overheat this time around, and we do get a debuff, and then we swap. Did we just catch another Overheat onto our Dragalge? Yes, we did, and that was already debuffed. They're now going to come in with Whimsicott. Unfortunately, though, the Overheat puts us into range where Moonblast probably takes us out, so going to use our shield there, and we are now going to fire off a Gunk Shot. We have landed it a few times already. Can we land it again? No, unfortunately not, as the opponent going to use their shield, but that's fine. We're going to let this move go through, as the opponent is going to go for a second Moonblast, taking out the Dragalge. And now we're going to come in with our Shiinotic here, might try and make a catch, and we do make the catch onto our Steelix. Really nice play. And Moonblast is going to be resisted, and the opponent's going to swap into Flygon, but we've got a really hard counter in the form of Shiinotic. Going to let the first move go through, probably going to overfarm just a little bit more here, and we are going to go for the Moonblast just before they make it to the next charge move. Once again, this will be taking out the Flygon. They come back in with the Whimsicott. We're going to overfarm as much as we can. Go for a Seed Bomb. This is resisted damage, but Seed Bomb takes out the Whimsicott, and can we make it to the charge move in time? We do just barely make it to another Seed Bomb, but it's double resisted, but it still takes out the Turtonator, and Shiinotic sweeps that game. Really nice play by Jimmy Owen 1027. Alright, so going into the first battle, we've got a level 50 Vibrava leading into Haunter, and like a lot of Dragon Breath users, you probably can just shield once and fully Dragon Breath farm down Haunter, because Haunter is a very glassy Pokemon, so despite Ice Punch being double super effective, we can win the one shield scenario. Of course, we haven't thrown a charge move yet, and the opponent comes in with a Piloswine. That is really difficult for this team, so we're going to go for the Sand Tomb, grab the debuff, and then go straight for a Flying Press, and this can do huge damage with the defense drop. The opponent lets that go through, it nearly one-shots them, and at this point we probably can't afford to shield our Pikachu. Yep, gonna let it go through. Avalanche will take us out, but I think one Dragon Breath might KO here, so we might come in with the Vibrava, and we do exactly that. We get the Dragon Breath farm down, and the opponent comes in with a Vigoroth. Now we're going straight for Sand Tomb once again. The opponent is going to call the bait this time. but we should put them into range where one Grass Knot will be enough to KO. Now, our Skip Bloom is only 1103 CP. This is level 50 as well. We tank the body slam though. The opponent doesn't go for the rock side. Honestly, we probably would just barely live a rock side anyways, but now we just have to make it to the back-to-back Grass Knots. Going for the first one, this should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, and we're able to outpace the Vigoroth to charge move number 2. Grass Knot coming through, taking out the Vigoroth, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so go into the first battle, the Shiny Shadow Arbok into a Gelatin. We've got 2 grass types in the back, so we're going to save swap into our Weeping Belt, and the opponent responds with a Shadow Dragonair. We're going to go straight for a Sludge Bomb here. This is going to do huge damage. It actually one-shots the Dragonair from full health. That was insane damage. I can't believe the opponent didn't shield there. But we can now go for a Power Whip. Looks like a CMP tie, and the opponent lets that go through as well. What on earth is going on? We can now just go for a full Dragon Tail farm down with our Shadow Arbok. Probably go for an Acid Spray to debuff their defense. Gonna shield this up. I don't think they're going to be running Psychic, but might as well shield it up anyways because Shiftry doesn't have a great time up against the Medicham. We can now go for the Acid Spray, and the opponent is finally going to use the shield, but it is way too late as Acid Spray going to debuff their defense by 2 stages. We can safely shield up the next Ice Punch, go for a full Dragon Tail farm down, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we're going to see Ariados into double, and you're going to see the other 2 Pokemon are Party Hat Wurmple, and it looks like a Party Hat Pikachu. I don't have them as the Party Hat variants, unfortunately, so for the graphic, they've just got regular versions, but this is basically going to be a solo with a couple of sacrificial swaps here, and we're already able to make a catch onto our Party Hat Wurmple there, catching the Body Slam, and now let's see, we're going to come back in with our Ariados, of course, because there's no point coming in with the Pikachu. We're going to go for a Cross Poison, hoping to get a boost here, and we do get the boost. That's huge. And then we exit the app by mistake. We're now going to go for a Mega Horn. Mega Horn will do huge damage when it's boosted. I didn't even realize that we weren't running Lunge, but we go for the second Mega Horn. Mega Horn one-shots the Lantern. Insane damage there. We're now going to go for another Cross Poison up against this double. Cross Poison does big damage. Hopefully puts them into farm down range here, but we don't really want to swap out and clear our buff, so we might just stay in, hope for the farm down in time, but we're not able to get there. This Body Slam will get us incredibly low, nearly one-shots us there, but we come out with another Mega Horn loaded, and it's a Vileplume in the back. Mega Horn one-shots the Vileplume, and we didn't even need the Pikachu there, and we're able to take that game. Into next game, we see Galarian Stunfisk in the lead, so not an ideal lead matchup for us, but probably better to see it here than up against the Aron, so I guess we'll take it, and we are going to overfarm here, gonna throw on the CMP tie, but we are only 1010 CP, so we end up having a lower attack stat than a Galarian Stunfisk, meaning we lose the CMP tie. We have to double shield in this matchup. We do at least grab 1 shield back from the opponent, and then they swap into a Hidden Power Togetic. That is quite an interesting choice there, and we are just going to come in with the Nidorina, and I think if we can get ahead on energy, we might be able to make it to a dig up against the Galarian Stunfisk. But Poison Fang coming through, grabbing a shield, we make it to Poison Fang number 2, and this will be enough damage with the debuff to easily take out the Togetic, wow, I can talk, and we are also able to make it, we barely don't make it to the dig in time. The opponent wins CMP with a Mud Bomb, taking us out. We need to go for the Flamethrower straight away into this Toxicroak. Flamethrower is going to do big damage. We're then going to swap Snipe with the Aron. That is crazy. And now the opponent has to go for an Earthquake here. I believe we should be able to live a Rock Slide from this range, and we do barely live it. We make it to an Iron Head. Iron Head is also resisted damage, but it puts them into tackle farm down range, and Aron just took out a Galarian Stunfisk. That is absolutely insane. So going into the next battle, we see Clefable into Cresselia, so a fairly neutral lead matchup. Probably going to have to swap out eventually into one of our flying type in the back just to bait out any potential answers there. But we go for the Moonblast immediately. Moonblast doesn't do much damage, but I mean, Cresselia is a very bulky Pokemon. They're actually running Future Sight, so Future Sight does significantly more damage than the Moonblast from that Cresselia. So we go for another Moonblast, grabbing a shield there, so potentially weak to the Clefable in the back. So we're going to use our shield, and then we might try and swap out of this matchup eventually, but nope, staying in, still going for another Moonblast, and Moonblast is going to be caught onto Talonflame. That's a really good catch there. I actually didn't see that at all, but we can now swap, make our own catch onto our Aerodactyl. The unfortunate thing though is that if they go for a Flame Charge, they might outpace us to the next charge move, and they do outpace us. Now we can still live this, we do resist everything they can throw, but that does a lot of damage. If the opponent wants to, they could potentially shield this up and then just fully incinerate farm us down, but no, they do let that move go through. They come back in with Cresselia and we make it to a rock side before they get the Psycho Cut farm down, and Rockside does do some nice damage there. We are going to wait out the switch clock here and then come back in with our Clefable, go for the Moonblast. I think Meteor Mash probably takes them out from this range, but Moonblast certainly does, and they've got a Virizion in the back now. We should be looking pretty fine here. This is not a Stone Edge, so we can just safely let it go through, and the opponent probably should have farmed to the potential Stone Edge there, although they might not be running it, in which case it doesn't really matter if they bait it or not, because we will be able to make it to two back-to-back flies before they make it to 3 Sacred Swords, and here we can just safely shield that up, go for the fly, and this is double super effective. This will easily take out the Virizion, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so going into the first battle, we see Double into Blissey. Now, just to note, Greavard and Double sort of interchanged in the lead. So, in the graphic, I've got Greavard in the lead. They do change quite a lot. But here, the opponent's going to safe swap into a Granbull. I hope they shield this, because now we can come in with our Varoom. And look at those poison jabs. We completely delete it. And as well, we've still got like 3/4 of our health remaining, because we took almost no damage from those charms. They are double resisted by the steel and poison typing. They now come in with a Spinda. We grab the final shield with an Acid Spray. At this point, we can just safely let this move go through. Doesn't matter if they full send the dig, taking us out, because we can come in with our Double. We're probably going to have to shield once. They should be able to make it to an Icy Wind before we farm them down. But no, actually they don't throw, so maybe not running Icy Wind or just choosing not to throw there. I'm not really sure. But either way, we can just spam Body Slams into the Blissey, and this is going to be game over. Second Body Slam coming through, and a third Body Slam will certainly be enough damage to take them out here. And we are actually going to slightly undercharge this. It still takes out the Blissey. We survive with 2 shields remaining and a full health Greavard there, so very comfortable first battle. Alright, so going into the first battle, Salazzle into Whiscash, awful lead, gonna say swap immediately into our Arctobax, and the opponent responds with a Frost Sash. Now the great thing about Arctobax and Baxcalibur, they are part ice, so they actually only take neutral damage from ice, meaning this should be a positive matchup for us, at least in the 1 and 2 shield scenario, I believe, especially with a slight energy advantage. We shield up the triple axle and we're able to fully Dragon Breath farm them down, which is huge because now we come out with an Icy Wind loaded. Whiscash, usually one doing the debuffs, but this time we can go for the Icy Wind, debuffing their attack, and honestly, we can live a Mud Bomb pretty comfortably after the debuff, so we are going to let that go through, go for a second Icy Wind, and if the opponent commits to a full Mud Shot farm down, I think honestly we're going to make it to a Dragon Claw here. The opponent goes for the farm down, and we do make it to that Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw will be getting the Whiscash incredibly low. They do just barely hang on. They've got quite a lot of energy, but they're going to swap out immediately into their Umbreon. At this point, just let the move go through, swap straight away into our Salazzle. Salazzle is not necessary to take on the Whiscash there, so probably gonna save our shield for our Baxcalibur. Gonna go for the Poison Fang straight away, debuff their defense as soon as possible, and even if they're running Psychic, we don't care, just let the move go through. It is just a foul play though, however, and now we can go for a second Poison Fang. Poison Fang from this range after the debuff, certainly gonna be taking out the Umbreon, and actually this Incinerate will actually KO, so might as well just shield up, let the Incinerate take out the Whiscash, and we're able to take that game. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead Shadow, Alolan Sandslash into Reshiram, awful lead, but the opponent's going to swap out straight away, so that implies they're not running Fire Fang, otherwise they certainly would just stay in. We're going to come in with our Shadow Vileplume. You can see it does have that best buddy ribbon, only reaches 2879 CP, and unfortunately that Fire Punch did most of our health. It looks like even if we shielded there, they probably could just Mud Shot farm us down, so we're actually not going to use a shield. Instead, come back in with our Shadow, Alolan Sandslash. Now we're going to shield this. Obviously a Fire Punch would one-shot us, but we can now go for the Powder Snow farm down. The opponent's going to come back in with the Reshiram, and you can see it is Dragon Breath, not Fire Fang. We're going to go for an Ice Punch bait, which is a bit risky, but the opponent actually respects the damage there. We're now going to go for the Drill Run. This is super effective damage. It does about half of their health, and then they swap into a Lugia. So Shadow, Alolan Sandslash, actually pretty strong against the entire team. We're now going to swap into our Shadow Kanto Muck. We are going to shield at the last second. It's an Aeroblast that certainly would have taken us out. We've now got either Thunder Punch or Dark Pulse to throw. Both will be super effective, although unfortunately they're still not going to do that much damage. Lugia is incredibly bulky here in the Open Master League. We reach a Dark Pulse, but Dark Pulse will still not KO. but it does put them into farm down range for our Shadow, Alone, and Sandstash. Sky Attack will be taking us out. They come back in with the Reshiram, so we fire off the drill run straight away, taking out the Reshiram, and we can make it to an Ice Punch at the last second. We're going to fully undercharge it, and even then it still KOs the Lugia, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we can see Skeledirge into a Shadow Dragonite. So this isn't that bad of a matchup, but of course we do have Rabombi, which is going to wall the typical moveset from Shadow Dragonite. But if they are running something like a Hurricane, that would be pretty crazy. But here we're going to shield the first charge move. The opponent doesn't throw at the best timing once again. And they tried to make the catch there onto Registeel. Quite a smart play, but we can actually just stay in with the Skeledirge. We've got such a huge energy advantage here. We can fire off back-to-back Shadow Balls. Unfortunately, this won't quite put them into full farm down range before they make it to a charge move. But I think we might be happy to go down both shields here, but just because, of course, we're going to come out of this matchup with a ton of energy. They don't even get the debuff either. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's going to wait out their switch lock here as they are switch locked, and they come in with a Tentacruel. Now, Tentacruel, very bad for a Bombi, so it's really good that we did fight for switch advantage here. We go for the Shadow Ball, the opponent uses their shield, going to go for another Shadow Ball here. The opponent will have to fire off a charge move to get rid of us here. I don't think they can Poison Jab farm us down. They swap back into the Shadow Dragonite, and this should be game over unless they are running Hurricane, which I mentioned before. The opponent going to fire off the charge move. It's just a superpower that is also double resisted, so doesn't really make sense to throw because now it's an easier farm down. I guess we get less energy, so maybe that makes sense there. But either way, we can come out with a ton of energy, go for a Bug Buzz here. Bug Buzz is resisted. It's not going to do that much damage, but it does grab the final shield, and we get the defense drop, and that just is the final nail in the coffin for this opponent as we can come in with our Decidueye, and as long as they're not running Blizzard, or as long as they don't make it to a Blizzard, I think we should be pretty fine here, and the opponent is just going to concede the match. Into next game, we got a kind of like triple shell theme team, but we're going to lead with our Pupitar into Primate. Awful lead, so we're going to swap into our Shelgon. Going to shield this up as the opponent goes for an Ice Punch, and looking at that Dragon Breath damage, we're going to commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down, and we get that farm down, which is huge, but they come in with a Vigoroth, so not really anywhere for our Pupitar to go. We're going to go for a Twister. Twister, unfortunately, not a very good move, as I mentioned in the previous battle. That had a Shelgon, but we do grab a shield, and we get them into the out of health range already. Now, Whirlipede is certainly not powered up all the way. I believe it gets to like the 1200s, but we're going to swap, make a really nice catch, and what I like about this is Pupitar actually resists all the typical charge moves, and the opponent swaps out of that matchup into their... I'm not really sure why they did that. They could have just stayed in with the Vigoroth, but either way, we are going to shield the first move coming from the Charger Bug. They do make it to another X-Scissor, but we've got some decent bulk here. We can live that, and we can go for the Ancient Power. Ancient Power, probably not quite going to take them out from this range. Actually, maybe it would have done, but either way, we grab the final shield. The opponent doesn't commit to the farm down there. They're going to throw their charge move. X-Scissor will be taking us out. We can come in with our Whirlipede. We're going to fire off the charge move. I don't think we really need to, but we will be taking out the Charger Bug, and now the opponent will actually make it to a charge move. If this is a Rock Slide, we should just barely live it, and we do live it. We make it to the Sludge Bomb, and from this range, does it KO the Vigoroth? Yes, it does, and we're able to take that game. Into the next game, we got 3 level 50 Pokemon in Maractus, Seviper, and Togedemaru. Unfortunately, awful lead for us, so we're going to say swap into our Seviper here, go for a Poison Fang, grab a shield, and it's very likely that they just go for a Feather Dance, which they do, and now they swap into Cresselia. Now, we've got Crunch for coverage, but it's not going to deal an awful lot of damage now that we've been double debuffed in our attack, and yeah, that really does not do much damage at all. Honestly, we probably just let this move go through as the opponent goes for a Moonblast. That is resisted damage, but it still takes us out because Seviper isn't a very bulky Pokemon. We're now going to come in with the Maractus, unfortunately just barely outpaced before we make it to a Solar Beam. They go for the Moonblast there. Oh, sorry, a Petal Blizzard. My bad, but Petal Blizzard is still going to do pretty big damage to the Cresselia. Unfortunately, doesn't quite KO, and the opponent once again just barely outpaces us to the charge move. At this point, we're going to just commit to a double shielded Togedemaru. Let's see what Togedemaru can do. We do resist everything here. It looked like we tried to go for a Fell Stinger at the last second, but for whatever reason, it didn't register. So now we're going to farm to 100 energy. Now we can go for the Fell Stinger. This will permanently boost our attack here. Of course, Pidgeot does have the ability to debuff it once again. The opponent comes in with a Shadow Sneasler, and this is quite an unnecessary bait, which the opponent calls there. I'm not sure why we're baiting here. Still, this makes no sense to me whatsoever, but we do at least grab the final shield. The opponent is committing to fast move farm down, but it doesn't matter because we can go for the wild charge, easily taking out the Shadow Sneasler, and we are double resisting these wing attacks. We make it to another wild charge in time. Wild charge takes out the Pidgeot, and we're able to take that game with both shields intact. Now going into the bonus battles, the first one we're going to see, as well as the Slowpoke and the Phantom, we're also running a level 50 or very excelled Axew as the third Pokemon, which is quite crazy, but if you think that's crazy, just wait until you see the next team that this trainer is going to be running. We do correctly shield up the Sludge Wave there. Unfortunately, once again running Water Gun and not Confusion. Confusion will be really good in this matchup, but this time the opponent doesn't farm up to the Sludge Wave, so we can very safely no shield that, go for a Side Shock, and from this range it should be taking them out here. We grab a shield from the opponent, and now we're going to go for another Side Shock, and hopefully we can just take out the Toxapex at this point, but no, the opponent gonna use their shield. We come in with the Axew, running Scratch as the fast move. The opponent full sends a Sludge Wave, nearly one-shots us, but we do barely get the Scratch farm down, and let's see what the opponent comes in with. They come in with a Medicham, so now it's time for Phantom to shine, as we can come in dealing big damage with the Astonish here. The opponent is going to farm up, and they're going to throw just before we make it to the charge boost, so very good timing there. The opponent full sends a Psychic, so we can probably overfarm there, but now the opponent comes in with a Tackle Carbink, and that's really good because we double resist the tackle damage. We can now go for Seed Bomb number 2. Seed Bomb will not be enough damage to take them out, but it will put them into perfect farm down range for our Phantom, so gonna let the move go through. They go for Rock Slide, that does quite a lot of damage, but these tackles are dealing almost no damage, and then we swap, we make the perfect catch there. Incredible timing. Rock Slide takes out the Slowpoke, we get the Astonish farm down, and we can fire off a Shadow Ball into the Medicham, coming back in. Shadow Ball one-shots the Medicham, and we're able to take that game. So that was crazy damage from the Salazzle there. Into the next game, we see Cresselia. Once again, fairly neutral lead matchup. Typically fire types do pretty well because typically Cresselia is going to run Grass Knot and Moonblast. We're going to shield, it is the Moonblast there, so I think ideally what we want to try and do is make a catch onto our Charizard, and we're able to do exactly that. And the opponent goes for another Moonblast, that is resisted, and once again we bait out the Swampert, which is perfect because our Salazzle, like I've said already, doesn't really want to face Swampert whatsoever. So here the opponent does overfarm quite considerably. We are into range where Hydro Cannon will easily take us out, but we've got 2 Leaf Blades stored, so we just throw them straight away, no messing around, taking out the Swampert, and the opponent comes in with a Giratina Origin form, which is a Pokemon you don't typically see too much in the Open Ultra League. We go straight for the Breaking Swipe, and this is actually really good to align it here. Breaking Swipe number 2 gets them fairly low, and at this point, we can probably just let the Sceptile go down. The opponent has to go for the Shadow Ball to take us out. Now, can we get the Incinerate farm down before they make it to Shadow Ball number 2? Oh, they barely get there in time, so that is unfortunate for us. We will shield this, and then we just got to hope that Cresselia isn't running Future Sight as the second move. We've only seen Moonblast so far. We go for Poison Fang. We actually grab the shield there, and we make it to a Dragon Pulse on the CMP tie. Dragon Pulse doesn't quite take them out, and if this is a Future Sight, this will easily one-shot us, but it is just a Moonblast. That's double resisted, and Incinerate takes out the Cresselia. Going into the next battle, we see a Melmetal in the lead, and at low elo, it's quite typical to see Melmetal as it's a very easy legendary or mythical Pokemon to power up, but we're able to swap, catch a resisted superpower onto our Landorus, but unfortunately the opponent has a Mamoswine in the back. Now, this looks bad, but it's actually pretty good to bait it out here because Thundurus has an even worse time. They do unfortunately get a full Powder Snow farm down, which is not ideal, but we have debuffed their attack. We could live a high horsepower, but the opponent baits with the Avalanche, and we do shield. So we're going to go for a Drill Run here. Drill Run will not be enough damage to KO, but we do grab the final shield from the opponent. At this point, we are going to double shield our Escavalier. They go for a second Avalanche bait. We're going to overfarm just a little bit, go for the Drill Run, and from this range, this will now be enough damage to take out the Mamoswine. The opponent comes back in with their Melmetal. We are once again going to swap out and catch what should be another resisted superpower. It is the superpower. The opponent's staying in with the Melmetal, but they've debuffed their attack, so this this rock slide will not be enough damage to KO, and we can actually overfarm in this matchup here, going for 2 Volt Switches before throwing. Very good, overfarming as much as possible, taking them out with the Wild Bolt Storm, but the opponent's got a Confusion Mewtwo in the back, so they actually KO us there with 1 Confusion, but it doesn't matter as a Mega Horn takes out the Mewtwo from pretty much full health, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.